This week I returned to one of my favourite directors, so let's take a look back at John Carpenter's Dark Star, which is a 1974 American comedy sci-fi directed by Carpenter and co-written with Dan O'Bannon, it being both their feature film debuts. O'Bannon further developed some of the themes and the beach ball pet alien from Dark Star into the sci-fi horror classic Alien, but I'm getting way ahead of myself, so let's start at the very beginning. Dark Star started out as a student film collaboration between Carpenter and O'Bannon whilst they were students at USC under the working title The Electric Dutchman. Beginning life in 1970 as a 45-minute student short with a budget of $1,000, the first version of the film was finished in 1972. To turn this student short into a feature film, a further 50 minutes of footage was shot in 1973. With various members of the cast having to wear wigs as they'd cut their hair in the intervening 2 years. Carpenter also replaced the voice of actor Dre Parhitch with that of his own, as Parhitch spoke with such a strong accent. John Landis, who was a friend of O'Bannon, introduced the film to producer Jack H. Harris, who agreed to purchase the distribution rights and release it. However, he was unhappy with around half an hour of scenes he found boring and unusable, and demanded they be cut. As a result of this, a further round of reshoots were ordered to bring the film back up to feature length. A number of cuts were also made to make the language and nudity in line with a G rating to make it easier to distribute. O'Bannon has said of the production of Dark Star, "We had what would have been the world's most impressive student film, and it became the world's least impressive professional film. So it will come as no surprise to find that Dark Star was not at all well received by audiences. With a final budget of only $60,000, it largely played to empty theatres with a complete lack of reaction to the comedy, and I can't find any figures for its box office gross." After the success of Alien, the film was re-released in 1979 and it was greeted with hugely positive critical acclaim. Roger Ebert saying in his review from '79, "Dark Star is one of the damnedest science fiction movies I've ever seen. A berserk combination of space opera, intelligent bombs and beach balls from other worlds." As for me, I wanted to cover this film right from the very beginning of starting this channel because I really love aspects of the film, mainly the proto-alien bits, the cinematography, aesthetics and direction, but I'm not as massive a fan of the comedy. First things first though, the plot. We follow the starship Dark Star, which is on a mission to destroy unstable planets with sentient AI controlled nuclear bombs to allow future colonization by humans. But as it is already 20 years into its mission, it has started to deteriorate, with an accident resulting in the death of the ship's captain. It's here that the basic themes that would go on to be developed by O'Bannon into Alien are plainly obvious. Blue-collar workers way out into space far from Earth doing menial and largely thankless tasks at the behest of a heartless and uncaring corporation, in this case the military, with the effects this is having on them making up most of the first two acts here, with Doolittle, Pinback, Boiler and Talby all having gone mildly insane due to the tedium and loneliness of space, having to find outlets for their boredom, it also being a somewhat satire of 2001 A Space Odyssey with the sentient AI bombs. I really enjoy these sort of satirical character study elements, although one of the major problems with this is the actors aren't exactly charismatic or good at acting, which isn't hugely surprising seeing as O'Bannon himself plays arguably the main character Pinback. The ship is a character in of itself, having the same stark and utilitarian neo-futuristic look that Alien also used, being both colourful knobs and switches and CRT TVs in the control room and stark sheet metal in the corridors and sleeping quarters plastered with Playboy centerfolds. The Dark Star could easily exist in the same universe as the USC Nostromo. Due to the very small budget, a lot of the knobs and switches were in fact household items, with the control panels being ice cube trays lit from behind. I just love the wonderfully realistic lived-in aesthetic that the ship exudes. Carpenter's directorial flourishes for lighting and creating a believable world with very little are all on show in this first feature. The cinematography and direction are all pretty exceptional for what is, in essence, a padded out student film, with hints of Barther-esque lighting at times, and I don't know why, I'm just a sucker for that candy coloured glow. Even the special effects that were largely done by O'Bannon for the budget and era hold up for the most part, with this being the first ever film to show a ship jumping to hyperspace, I believe. An effect that would achieve far greater fame in Star Wars and Star Trek in later years. The one area where the budget or the lack of one and the constraints that were placed on them as filmmakers is most obvious here, with the alien special effect though. Yeah, it is quite obvious it is a painted beach ball with sock puppet claws, which leads to them playing this off as an absurdist comedy sketch, and it is the one bit that just doesn't really work for me. I've said on numerous occasions here on this channel that comedy is entirely subjective, and I'm well aware that this is actually most people's favourite part of this film, but for me it is where it is incredibly obvious that this is a student film filmed on a budget of 50p, and these scenes are padding to make it feature length, and I just didn't find any of them particularly funny. I chuckled a few times, but kinda wish they'd just stuck with the satirical character study elements throughout instead. Unbelievably though, yeah, this beach ball with sock puppet claws is the ultimate inspiration for the Xenomorph, with O'Bannon realising how scary and claustrophobic it would be for a crew to be locked in a starship with an alien monster intent on killing them when audiences fail to find it comedic. As lame as this alien is, it's still a better alien prequel than Prometheus and Covenant. So that was Dark Star, which is Alien if it was a student film, a comedy, and filmed on a budget of 50p. It has some wonderful aspects to it that make it very much worth your while, but be warned, it is very rough around the edges, but is absolutely worth a watch if you want to see what inspired Alien or are a fan of Carpenter's work. Like, comment and subscribe if you enjoyed that, because next week is Dead End Drive-In, a glorious neon slice of 80s exploitation.